Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, my guest is Donald Weber. He's a dynamic communication coach and speaker with a passion for transforming how leaders connect with their teams, clients, and audiences, drawing from an extensive background in human behavior psychology, emotional intelligence. He equips individuals with tools to communicate clearly, lead with empathy, and foster meaningful relationships with an approach that is rooted in body language analysis, self-awareness, and leadership. Welcome to the show, Donald. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it, Buck.
You bet. This is a little different kind of show than we usually do. It's a personal finance, macroeconomics type show, but I thought it was an interesting topic for people in general, and specifically the stuff that I thought was interesting. You know, you've done some consultancies for even the U.S. government and the Treasury and the DHS and State Department and all that. So tell us a little bit about what you do and why it's important.
Okay, I do a lot of corporate training, so I work with a lot of senior executives of the Fortune 100s. I work sometimes with political people here in Europe and even members of the royal families. And I usually work with them in the area of improving their communications. But communications has a lot of areas, right? So, but nonverbal communication is always part of that, whether it's public speaking, we're negotiating, sales training, or we're CEO or director of a company and I'm having problems getting my team motivated or inspired. Well, it's really important how I deliver those messages. And maybe I'm not feeling so good one day, but that's my problem. I need to be still communicating clearly to my team so that I keep them motivated and keep them moving in the right direction where I want to go. It's kind of like, captain of a ship, just because he's maybe not feeling very good, he still needs to give his crew, proper instructions as what they need to do so they can get to their destination. Same for
Do you feel like your training is more about what you say or how you say it?
I think it's more. Well, that's a good question. If you go to Albert Meverin studies from UCLA back in '73, what he said was that our nonverbal communication represents about 93% of what we're saying. That's taken out of context. It has to do with the congruency of the message. Example would be, if I'm telling you, this is the best product in the world and you really should buy it, unless I'm in Bulgaria, it's not congruent with the message I'm delivering to you. So the way I deliver it with my nonverbals, which includes also the voice tone. A lot of times, if you're talking to somebody and you notice their voice tone is quite steady, and then you get to a very critical point in the conversation, and then you notice it maybe dips down or jumps up, that's an indication of stress, discomfort, something's up. So that's like a red flag that we want to zone in on and say, okay, there's something going on here. We may bring it up verbally or not, and just observe it and then try to see what we can do with that information.
It's interesting that you bring up the voice part of it because, obviously I'm a podcaster and the majority of my listeners are listeners. They're not really watching. I mean, I'm not really like a YouTube, star or it's a bunch of 40, 50-year-old people who are interested in personal finance. What is it about certain voices that makes people listen? Because I will say this, I have had a number of people tell me that they listen to my show because they like the way I sound. It's a compliment to me, and I understand it. Of course, I don't really necessarily know what people like about me, but what I find is content-wise, when I listen to various podcasts, for example, I just listen sometimes because I like the way people sound. I mean, the content could be completely the same, but if I'm like, oh, I just can't deal with this guy's voice or whatever. What is it about various kind of voice patterns, the way we perceive various communication that makes it generally more or less attractive to an audience?
Voices with deeper resonance tends to people prefer. And there's really solid evidence that indicates that resonance, deeper voice is more attractive to listen to. And I have the same experience. If I don't like somebody's voice, it makes it more difficult. And typically the type of voice I enjoy listening to is a deeper voice with more resonance, more bass. Usually you're speaking through your abdomen. I mean, a lot of, let's say, politicians and things or actors, they go to voice coaches to improve their voice. We have certain politicians right now running today for election, and they're very nasally when they speak. And that to some people can be very unattractive.
Yeah, actually,
Uh,
Kamala Harris is pretty nasally, isn't
extremely.
she?
You should
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
one. Yeah, and
I found, yeah, and not to be political at all, and when this airs, the election will already be over. But I have a really hard time listening to her. I mean, just because it just sounds like it's coming from, from her nose, like you said, right? And whereas Trump, what it's not, again, nothing political here. Um, but he's trained himself too. I mean, he's somebody who has spent a lot of time actually perfecting a way of speaking. Can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not an expert on Trump. What I would say though, like he had the Apprentice TV show. He's been in front of the public for years and years and years. Gosh, probably like 50 years now. So he's got a lot of experience. I don't find him to be necessarily, well, he can be pretty funny sometimes.
Oh, he's
Um,
hilarious. He's hilarious. Okay, apolitical, but he is really funny,
yeah, he is.
actually.
He can be. Um, but yeah, he's quick.
Yeah,
He's quick with the words and things like that. Since the assassination thing, he's really chilled out. It seems like, but
yeah.
um, he's an entertainer and he's very good at entertaining audiences. Where his counterpart, I don't think she has nearly the experience. She's very nasally when she speaks. She really should go to a voice coach
Mm.
because that can be worked on. It has to do again with breathing from the diaphragm when we're speaking. I mean, give you an example right now. But I'm speaking right now from my diaphragm. Now, if I start speaking from my throat and I start speaking through my head, my voice just changed. And I haven't changed it. I'm not changing it here. I'm just changing it the way I'm talking. If you notice the difference. So a lot of it has to do just with the breathing when we're speaking. And people will take you more seriously. They'll enjoy listening to you more, and you'll maintain their attention if you have more your voice.
That is, if you speak sort of with the more diaphragmatic, if you're generating your power from your diaphragm, is that kind of what
Exactly,
you're
like
saying?
yourself.
Okay.
You have a really good resonance. So
I,
it makes, for most people, according to the studies, and really for most people, it makes it a more pleasant voice to listen to. Now, this is probably not what they call woke,
yeah,
correct. But for the ladies, it makes it more difficult because women don't have that deeper voice. But they
yeah.
can get away from the nasally and they can get away. There's certain things that they can do to make it more centered their voice when they speak.
What can they do? What specifically?
Typically, they went to a voice coach, which I've gone myself. Is they'll teach you, the first thing they're going to teach you is breathing. Then
Okay.
the next thing you go into is kind of like a singer, where they have the la 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 thing, sounds that you make. You'll practice singing certain octaves and things like that, and doing it where you're breathing in a certain way. So if I'm on a stage or speaking in front of an audience, I definitely breathe differently than like if we went out for a coffee.
What I notice is it's a lot easier to listen to people if they're not monotone. You can have a very powerful voice, but if you're just, blah, 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 and you don't have a range, it sort of lulls people to sleep.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Buck. Yeah. It's like one note on a piano. I'm really, really exciting. Don't you enjoy listening to me? And I'll take a risk and back to one
Right.
note on the piano. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, I noticed that's like sort of the high school presentation voice. My daughter who's she's 15 and she just, she's actually a wonderful singer and stuff, but she just started getting up in front of people and she's like, she does the whole, and then this and this and this and this and this and this. And that's a learned thing, I think, trying not to do that in real life. Okay. So that's how you potentially can make people listen to your voice. Now, is there a correlation between, people liking the way you sound and your ability to do, say, something like sell?
And so, well, you can definitely influence. So if I say, now is the time, right? I just impact the word now. You impact certain words, keywords that you're speaking about. You can definitely have an influence in how people will perceive your message. Absolutely, without a doubt. So you can use your body language, your voice at the same time to emphasize that one particular word or that one particular idea. Also, rhythm, which if you look at like Martin Luther King, he was very good with rhythm when speaking. Les Brown, and Les Brown, he's also very good with rhythm when he speaks, and that almost like hypnotizes people.
When you say rhythm, give us an example of what that's
Actually,
all about.
I'm actually not very good at it.
You gotta.
I'll be
So
straight with you. That's a really high end skill, and not a lot of people actually have it. You'll hear a lot of maybe preachers, not a lot, but you hear some preachers have it as well. But it's kind of
Yeah,
almost like it's almost like music when they're talking.
I see.
So and they're kind of it's almost like hypnotic.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. So I think about Martin Luther King and the way he would Martin Luther King Jr. In his speeches, he would kind of it was yeah, you're right. It's almost like a song and sort of leading you and creating a vision and with his voice, right? That kind of yeah, I get
exactly.
it.
Obama had a little bit of it as well,
Yep.
not the degree, but he had a little. He had some of that ability, but not to the degree of Martin Luther King or even Les Brown.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we've talked about voices, and I guess the take home there is that if there's certain voices or certain speaking patterns that will help you influence people, right? So the question is, what kind of training can you get on that? Because obviously, some people are born with more skills than others. Is how teachable is that skill?
I think it's very teachable. It's a skill that okay, some people are born with it and you're lucky, right? But most people are not. So it's a skill that somebody would teach you and then you practice it over and over and over and over and over. What I was going to say is, for example, if you're in an argument, let's say you're in a situation where somebody's angry or they're all emotional or something like that, let's say in the workplace, a technique you can use your voice to calm them down is they're excited, right? And their voice is going up and it's escalating. And you do the opposite. You slow down, you speak more slowly, you speak maybe even softer. You might even change your body language a little bit. Eventually, what will happen, it might take a minute or two, a few minutes. Eventually, they'll start to calm down and because basically what you're doing is rather than escalate the situation, you're diffusing the situation. Because when people are very emotional, they're not as smart.
Mm-hmm.
When we're in a negative state of mind, I think the study says we're like 31 or 38% less intelligent. So
Yeah.
that would mean that you're 31 or 38% smarter when you're in a positive state of mind. So if we're trying to solve a problem and we're angry, we're not going to be as creative. We're not going to come up with as many creative solutions and all that. So we can use our voice by modulating it, how fast we speak, how slow. If I'm giving a presentation, if I want to get people excited, I'll start speaking quicker and I'll start varying my voice up and down and moving it around because I want to bring energy into the conversation. And then, but you don't want to do that nonstop. Then maybe you want to slow down and pause or, express an idea that's important. And now is the time for us to make a change. Silence.
So as I'm talking to you, I notice you use your hands a lot. Do you? I mean, again, some people do watch this show. Others are listening. So, do you always use your hands, or you kind of do it? Are you trained to use your hands?
I'm doing it. I use my hands quite a bit because I live in Southern Europe, but I'm doing it probably more right now than I would be in a normal conversation. But I still would use it.
What does
But
Southern Europe have to do with it? Is the fact that they're not understanding you as well with verbal language?
I don't know. If you think about the Italians, they use
Oh,
their
okay,
hands a lot. The Spanish,
okay.
they use their hands a lot. So it's more, it's common that people are more, I think because you're trying to illustrate whatever the point you're trying to, now I'm becoming self-conscious with my hands. Or you're trying to
It's okay.
illustrate the point you're trying to make.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of right now in teacher mode because we're talking about this topic. So immediately it's, put on the teacher hat kind of thing.
How important is that sort of the hand gestures and all that, and what does it accomplish?
Well, you can put at emphasis to a point. So again, if I'm saying, that's too expensive, and I'm putting my hand down on the table or something like that, I'm emphasizing it's too expensive, or hey, that's a really great idea. I'm emphasizing the thought, and there's other things you can do. Like if you're saying, if you probably have heard, Buck, the idea of not using the word, I'm doing this on purpose by way of my hands right now, but using the word, but. So, you did a really great job on that, Buck. We're really happy with that, but
You're fired.
yeah, right. The shoe's going to drop, right? So we teach. Um, so, did a really good job on that. But that's the past.
Yeah.
Now we got to think about the future.
Okay.
It's a way of kind of like marking, but that's the past, or, we had a big problem with this, blah, 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 but that's the past. Now we need to look ahead towards the future. So you can use, it's more subconscious kind of stuff that you're doing. And it depends who you're talking to. It doesn't work you don't use the same techniques with every single person. Different people are different. It's better to communicate with different people in different ways.
What types of clients are your, I guess, I mean, you work with corporate, you're doing some consulting for corporate, and you also do some government consulting. What are they trying to achieve typically? Are they trying to learn how to influence? What are they trying to do generally?
If it's in the private sector, in the corporate world, they're trying to generally, they want their people to stay engaged and do the best job as possible. That's basically the thing. One. Or two, they're giving a presentation at the embassy or somewhere like that, and they want to look good. And by the way, most people that suffer from fear of public speaking or glossophobia, it's a result of focusing on the wrong stuff. Because rather than focusing, well, obviously preparing, practice, and all that is very important. But rather than focusing on yourself, focus on the audience, on giving. That helps relieve a lot of fear of public speaking. But usually, so the people like speaking at embassy. I just helped the CEO of a major organization with that recently. Maybe they have to do a meeting at the board of directors, and they have some issues with that, or perhaps they're going to deliver a message to the entire team of the company, which might be, I don't know, 5,000, not 5,000, but 500 or 1,000 employees or something like that. So it depends. Usually it's a special engagement, and usually these people already are pretty good at public speaking, but they just need that extra push.
Yeah.
Though sometimes I work with engineers who don't have that much experience and they need help, designing a PowerPoint and how to deliver it and simplify the ideas and make it palatable for your audience, so you don't bore everybody and put everybody to sleep while you're delivering that 3-hour presentation on that,
Right.
kind of thing.
Do you ever do any do you have clients who come in for just purely personal reasons, or not
Yes.
personal, but like maybe just, I think just being, trying to change the way they're viewed in general. Like, I mean, their identity and who they are and all that,
I wouldn't go that far changing their identity.
or at least their perception.
I've had people who want to improve, who like they have they deal with a lot of stress. They don't know how to deal with stress well. They
Yeah.
lack confidence. That's a common, it's not that common, but it is a common thread. I've even had people with like anger management. We had one engineer who was a public speaking class, and he just freaked out because HR sent him to a public speaking class. That was pretty hilarious. There was 2 trainers, myself and the other trainer. The guy freaks out. He's like, I don't understand why I'm here, blah, 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 blah. And the other trainer didn't even know what to do. And I look at the guy and I go, you're absolutely right. I don't know why they sent you here, because I'm sure you're very, very talented at public speaking. And I apologize, Anyway, I just gave him what he wanted to hear, kind of thing. We ended up becoming friends. We still communicate now and again.
Yeah.
Like it was years ago.
Probably the Silicon Valley engineers who want to learn how to speak with women? Do you get that too?
Usually that's like never professionally, but I've had people for sure ask me, on the side, hey, by the way, this kind of, I'm not like pick up like that, but
that's funny.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, interesting stuff. How can people learn more about you and what you do?
Go to my website, I guess, drwebercoaching.com. Will probably be the easiest. I'm also on LinkedIn, Don Weber. And there they can find out more about the services that we offer. It's communication for leaders, basically, or for aspiring leaders, younger people. Maybe they're 30 something that are looking for promotions and career advancement and that kind of stuff. Because
job interviews, preparing for job interviews, things like that.
Getting a raise,
getting a raise.
The more valuable you are for your employer, the more likely they're going to give you a raise. And if you're really valuable, they're not going to let you go.
Yeah.
So communications is part of that. I might have really good hard skills in something, but if I'm terrible at communicating, that's a real problem. It's going to really hinder you in your career moving forward, Buck. So I think people sometimes they underestimate how important communication is. I know I used to.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And people should definitely get in touch if you're interested in improving your communication skills for whatever endeavor you are trying to shoot for. Thanks again, Don, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Buck. All the best to you as well, man.